Hey, welcome back to our channel where we're going to talk about a project today that is probably near and dear to a lot of homesteaders and a lot of homeowners. We're going to be discussing how to build forms and pour concrete for a 6 by 8 foot pad, 3.5 inches thick. We're going to start by removing all of the organic materials from where the pad's going to be poured. Once we've got the first 2 or 3 inches of soil removed, we're going to bring in some backfill rock, some crushed rock here, and we're going to pack it down really well. We're going to try to level the pad out as best we can without going too overboard at this point. You can rent a little gas-powered packer at any of your local rental stores. Since we already have the small tractor, we brought in the gravel and we used the bucket to spread out the gravel evenly. We then took the tractor and ran back and forth over the gravel to make sure that it's packed down really well. We used a crushed kind of gravel that has a clay mixture and a little bit of sand mixed in it. It's really great for packing. Now let's actually start the build. Building the forms is the first step in our process. We needed the following materials: 8 foot 2x4s, deck screws, a drill, a level, and a saw. We'll be using the 2x4s to build a rectangle that is 6 feet by 8 feet. You'll notice in the video that our measurements are just a little bit shy of 6 by 8, and that's because of the type building we're putting up. We're building this pad to fit the building, and we just changed the numbers to 8 by 6 for the video just to keep the math easy. Just keep in mind when you're building your forms that you have to take into account the thickness of the 2x4s twice because you have it on either side. We added 3 inches extra to the measurements of our short boards and then made sure to put the short boards on the outside of the long boards when we made our rectangle. For video purposes, we cut 2 pieces of the 2x4 8 foot long, and then we cut 2 pieces of the 2x4 6 foot and 3 inches long. Then we assemble the pieces by screwing the shorter pieces to the longer pieces at the corner, making sure the edges are flush. We level and square our form a little bit on the unusual side. We do this for the simplicity of it, and it really probably is not feasible for a very large project, but for a small pad it's very feasible and very user friendly. Take one of the long 2x4s and put it in place level and the right direction that you want the building to lay. Then place the short 2x4 on the outside of the long 2x4. Then we're going to mount the short 2x4 to the long 2x4, making sure it's flush by putting a single nail in the very center of the short 2x4. Don't worry, we'll put more nails later, but the single nail in the center will allow that board to pivot. Next, measure the diagonal distance from opposite corners of the form and make sure that they are equal. If they are not equal, you'll need to adjust the form until they are. Next, put stakes around the outside of the form, being very careful not to knock it out of square. Check it often. It's too late to go back once the concrete is poured. Now raise or lower each short side, making sure it's level, and then place one nail in each short board. Move to the other short board and do the exact same thing. If you've done this right, your secondary 8-foot board should be level, but check it anyway.
That's pretty daggone good.
Once you have your final stakes in, you'll recheck for square and level. If you're happy with both of those, then it's time to nail. We used our nail gun, which makes it easy to put nails in without disturbing the stakes too much. You could do this with the same results by using a drill and screws. Once everything is nailed in, take a reciprocating saw and cut the top of the 2x4s off level with all of the outer form 2x4s. This will allow you to pull a board across the top of the form, screeding the concrete as you go. Next, we bring in more of our gravel sand mixture. We'll use this mixture to raise the base up level with the bottom of the form. You may have to do this several times, and each time it will have to be packed down. If you don't pack it down, this will cause your concrete to fail prematurely. Now that our forms are level and square, we'll need to put down plastic as a vapor barrier. We'll be using heavy-duty plastic sheets that are 6 by 8 feet. The plastic keeps ground moisture from penetrating the concrete. Now that our forms are ready, we can begin the concrete pour.
Gallons for every bag.
Another option is to rent a concrete mixer. This will cut down on your labor. We use what we had on hand to mix the concrete to save a little money. If you're DIYers like us, I recommend starting fresh. Once you start to pour, you're committed till it's done. It's the general consensus that we will not need rebar. A 5,000 psi concrete and fiber is more than enough for a pad this size. Each different brand of concrete requires a different amount of water depending on the mix and the variation. Follow the instructions on the back of the bag. We're using our tractor bucket to mix concrete, however, this could be easily done with a wheelbarrow. If you want a smoother surface, you can rent professional tools, or in our case, we're going to be pouring a lot of concrete over the next few months and years, so we decided to buy our own. At minimum, you'll need a concrete edger to round over the edges of your concrete next to the form. One last thought, if you're going to do DIY, it's probably better not to use a fast curing concrete. It may start to sit up before all of the form is full. Start on one end of the form and work your way towards the other end. Add concrete and screed as you go. Be sure to fill the forms completely full of concrete all the way to the top, making sure there's no air pockets in the concrete. Our form is only 3.5 inches deep. If it was a little bit deeper, then we would need to go around the outside of the form, tapping it with a hammer to make air bubbles release. If you screech your concrete well with a 3.5 inch form, you shouldn't have any problem. If you're okay with a rough surface, then you're pretty much done. We wanted a little bit smoother surface, so we brought out our floats. One thing I didn't take into account was that the different times the concrete went in. One end of our concrete was pretty much ready to float by the time we were done, while the other end was still fairly wet. After making that mistake, we let it cure a little bit longer. We then came back with the float and smoothed it out. After the concrete has started to set up, it's the time that you want to run the edger around and round over the edges of the concrete next to the form. During this time, we'll make sure to keep the concrete moist by mixing it with water several times a day. We poured our concrete in a very cool time of year. After looking at it several times, it was always moist. There's plenty of debate on when to remove the forms. I recommend 36 to 48 hours. We're also giving our concrete 7 days to cure. Now there's a lot of leadway and different factors that go into this, but if you let it set for 7 days, you should be okay. Leave us a comment if you think we left anything out.